Good morning, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to this webinar. First of all, this is the World Wetlands Day webinar, and the theme for the World Wetlands Day webinar is conserving our wetlands for our common future. So we are having this webinar in collaboration with the Earthlungs Reforestation Foundation, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Kenya Wetlands Forum, East African Wildlife Society. So in this webinar, we'll have a series of topics to discuss. First of all, we will start with an opening prayer, housekeeping rules, agenda setting that will be led by me, Vincent. We'll have welcoming remarks that will be led by Jabez from East African Wildlife Society. We will also have opening remarks from the Kenya Wetlands Forum Management Committee member. We will also have a presentation that will be done by Teresa Aoko from East African Wildlife Society. And this is a presentation to introduce introduction of speakers and the topics that we'll be going to discuss. Again, we will have a topic, we'll have another session of the freshwater challenge, themes and targets for conserving our wetlands. This session will be led by Dr. Benjamin Kyalo from the State Water. The State Department of Water is in the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation at the national government. We also have another session of technology use in coastal wetlands conservation, lessons from Earthlungs Reforestation Foundation. And this session will be led by Ms. Mariam Ali Fadhili from Earthlungs Restoration Foundation. Thereafter, we'll have question and answer session led by, or rather facilitated by Anne Kyalo from the East African Wildlife Society. We will there move forward to getting member updates, and we'll have one member giving updates from Friends of Ondiri, and I'm hoping David has joined us. We'll be giving updates from Friends of Ondiri. Then we'll have another session of Secretariat updates that will be led by Teresa Aoko from the East African Wildlife Society. Then finally, we'll have remarks and conclusion that will be led by Jabez Okumu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vincent. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of East Africa Wildlife Society, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome everybody to this important webinar on protecting wetlands for our common future. Today we are gathered here not just as conservationists, researchers and policymakers, but as stewards of nature, united for a shared responsibility of safeguarding our wetlands for generations to come. East Africa Wildlife Society has been hosting Kenya Wetlands Forum for years, and during those years, the forum has been on the forefront of wetland advocacy, bringing together stakeholders from government, civil society, academia, and local communities. The forum's mission aligns well with East Africa Wildlife Society mission of promoting dialogue, influencing policy, and driving actions that ensure sustainable management of wetlands within this country. Wetlands are not just water bodies or swamps. They are beating heart of our ecosystems, providing water, food, livelihood, and climate resilience. Yet these, despite their importance, wetlands continue to be drained, degraded, destroyed at an alarming rate. Urban expansion, pollution, deforestation, and climate change have put immense pressure on this fragile ecosystem. Freshwater Challenge, which we'll be discussing today, is a global initiative aimed at restoring 350 million hectares of wetlands, presents an incredible opportunity for Kenya to reclaim and protect these invaluable resources. If we do nothing, we risk not only losing biodiversity, but also compromising our water security, food production, and resilience to climate change. While these threats are real, so are the solutions. And technology is one of our greatest allies. Innovation like satellite imagery, AI, revolutionary how we monitor and restore our wetlands. Imagine a future where our real-time data helps us predict and prevent wetland degradation before it happens. That future is within our reach, and if we embrace and invest in these solutions, move beyond conversation to action plan protection in policy and planning. And scientists must leverage technology and innovation to accelerate restoration efforts within our wetlands. Communities, on the other hand, who are the frontline guardians of this ecosystem, must be empowered and supported. And Kenya Wetlands Forum stand ready to work with all stakeholders in making this vision a reality. This webinar today is not just about learning, it's about inspiring action. Each of us has a role to play in ensuring that Kenya's wetlands thrive, not just for us, but for the future generations as well. Thank you very much for being part of this critical conversation, and I wish us a productive discussion. Thank you very much, and I hand over back to you, Vincent.
Thank you, Jabez, for the welcome remarks. We will now move ahead to the next remarks from the from the Kenya Wetlands Forum Management Committee member. So I hand it over to any Kenya Wetlands Forum committee member, or Teresa can take lead on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jen Masharia, are you in? If not, we'll give them an opportunity. Once we proceed with the meeting, they'll get a chance to speak to us. In the meantime, I'd like to confirm if Dr. Benjamin Yalo has joined us. Dr. Benjamin Yalo, are you in? Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning, Teresa and colleagues. I'm in.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I would want to take this opportunity to introduce our speakers. The World Wetlands Day is celebrated every 2nd of February since 1997. And today, in 2025, this webinar is a build-up activity to the World Wetlands Day to enable us get more understanding about wetlands conservation and the importance of our wetlands and the benefits they have to us. We have our speakers who are well seasoned and who have quite a lot of experience in the areas they have been. Our first speaker is Dr. Benjamin Yalo. Dr. Benjamin Yalo will be presenting to us about the freshwater challenge, talking to us about the themes and targets for conserving our wetlands. The freshwater challenge is a recent challenge, and Dr. Benjamin Yalo is an expert in this area. He is an expert in natural resources management with 16 years in the government sector. He has been specializing in planning, development, and implementation of comprehensive water resources programs. He holds a doctorate degree in environmental science and technology with a focus on water resources management in transboundary systems. Dr. Benjamin Yalo also has a strong record in water quality and hydrological assessments in Kenya in the Lake Victoria Basin and the Nile Basin. He currently serves as the Assistant Government Chemist at the Department of Water Resources Management at the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation in Kenya. Therefore, we are the right person to talk to us about the freshwater challenge, and I hope that we'll have several questions for him. We are lucky to have him on board. Our next speaker will be Mariam Ali Fadhili, who is a wetland officer at Earthlungs Restoration Foundation. Here, she manages daily wetland operations and spearheads initiatives to restore degraded wetland ecosystems through collaboration with local communities and government agencies. Her career began with a bachelor's degree in forestry from Masai Mara University, Kenya. Thereafter, she followed with an advanced master's degree in marine and lacustrine science and management from Vrij University, Brussels, Belgium. Mariam, I hope I spelled that correctly. If not, you will correct me. Mariam has made significant contributions to marine and wetland ecosystems, including the restoration and conservation of mangrove ecosystems along the Kenyan coast. Her efforts have raised community awareness about mangrove conservation and resulted in the planting of over 100,000 mangroves. She's passionate about advancing the blue economy, focusing on research, conservation, and the sustainable management of wetland ecosystem. Therefore, members, I trust that you will have a quite insightful session listening to our highly advanced and professional speakers with a lot of experience. I take this opportunity to welcome our first speaker, Dr. Benjamin Yalo. Over to you, Dr. Benjamin. Karibu.
Okay,
You
thank you, Teresa.
20 minutes.
You can hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa, and also the other colleagues who are coordinating this forum. Yeah, it is quite interesting, and I really appreciate the invitation to come and give a very short presentation, on freshwater challenge. Yeah, I think Teresa, you are the one who is showing my presentation.
Yes, I will share your screen if that is okay with you. If not, I can pull down and share. You can share from your end.
Please, you can share so that, yeah.
All right, great, thanks.
Yeah. Yes, I hope that you're not hearing a lot of background noise from my office because I neighbor a very busy road here in Upper Hill. So thank you. My name, as you have heard, is I am Benjamin Kyalo Niletia. Yes, and thank you. The introduction was quite in order. And I want to speak about freshwater challenge. I don't have really much because the freshwater challenge is a bit new, especially in our country. And we are now in the process of implementing, we are in the initial process of implementing the freshwater challenge. I stand here together with my boss, who is Andrew Mware Kinyo, who was the first to be invited to give this speech because he's the main coordinator of this program in the country. He's our Director of National Water Resources. So we can move forward. Yeah, maybe from the standpoint of freshwater challenge, we just want to define what we mean by freshwater ecosystems. And here we refer to mainly inland ecosystems and not coastal or saline ecosystems. And we talk of rivers, lakes, we talk of springs, wetlands, which are the ones which are making us to meet here this morning and which we are celebrating this week, and also groundwater dependent ecosystems. But you find that systems which are coastal and are fed by upstream freshwater systems, they also apply in our freshwater challenge. Let's move. Freshwater ecosystems are on the front lines of climate change and nature crisis. We know about their crucial role in terms of climate adaptation and mitigation. in terms of water and food security, sustainable development, and also disaster reduction. And this has been recognized in many international conventions and frameworks. But together with all these efforts on how to manage fresh water, you realize that they are still highly degraded. And this is something which in this country we witness on the degradation of upstream catchments, wetlands, and also coastal ecosystems. In the midterm review of the Water Action Decade, it was found that SDG 6, that is on clean water and sanitation, it was off track. And therefore, there is this urgent need to accelerate efforts to protect and restore freshwater ecosystems. That is why now the UN has come up with the issue of freshwater challenge. Let's move. Now, freshwater challenge. This is a country-led initiative which was launched in the year 2023 during the water conference, and this was part of the water action agenda. The aim of freshwater challenge is to restore. It has an ambitious aim to restore 300,000 kilometers of rivers and 350 million hectares of wetlands. And this one, I talk about the aim at global level. This can translate to around 30% of degraded freshwater systems and also to protect 30% of intact freshwater ecosystems. So we mean 30% of ecosystems which have been degraded, and also to protect another 30% of those which have not yet been touched. And this includes inland and also coastal waters. Next. The objectives of FWC at global level, it is to accelerate the implementation of freshwater commitments by mobilizing more investment and fast-tracking policies at national and also at global level on commitments on freshwater ecosystems. It also aims to substantiate and quantify existing ambitions. That is to account for the contributions of different stakeholders to protect and restore freshwater ecosystems by supporting countries so that they can define quantitative and specific targets across sectors and connect targeted interventions from non-state actors with national plans and strategies. It also seeks to integrate commitments to protect and restore freshwater ecosystems at the highest level in national plans and strategies, and also to acknowledge the critical role of freshwater ecosystems in achieving climate, nature, and also sustainable development goals. Next, please. Now, the member countries of FWC, currently we have 46 countries who have joined the Freshwater Challenge together with the European Union. And very important, our country, Kenya, has joined the Freshwater Challenge. At global level, it is supported by the WWF, IUCN, the Nature Conservancy, by UNEP, by Wetlands International, and it is also open to many other international NGOs, and it also works with close collaboration with the Secretariat of the Convention on Wetlands. Next, please. So Kenya joined the Freshwater Challenge during the COP28, and it is through the State Department for Water and Sanitation, where I work. Now, at country level, FWC is coordinated by by the State Department of Water, but it is open to contribution from any, civil society organizations, NGOs, private sector, academia, and also any other supporting organization. Currently, the active local partners in the Freshwater Challenge includes the WWF, TNC, that is the Nature Conservancy, Wetland International, IUCN, among other state departments, and also major government institutions like NEMA and other environmental research organizations. The aim of FWC at local level is to attract funding to implement the national commitments and agree on clear methodologies to prioritize freshwater ecosystems, restoration and conservation. Also in the national biodiversity strategies and action plans, and also in our national action plans. Next, please. So far, what is the progress of the Freshwater Challenge in Kenya? You bear witness that we joined this challenge like a year ago, and in the last 1 year, we have been setting up, and so far, we have been able to set up the Kenya Freshwater Conservation Spatial Plan. And this spatial plan, we want to inform the sustainable conservation and management of the country's freshwater resources. To develop a freshwater spatial plan, we have formed a steering committee to provide expert and strategic guidance and coordination to the process. Members of the steering committee it is coordinated from our State Department here. We also have members from NEMA, Water Resources Authority, Wildlife Research Training Institute, from the DRSRS, that is the Directorate of Remote Sensing, from the National Museums of Kenya, from Kenya Forest Service, KWF, and also from the State Department of Environment, Forestry, and Climate Change, together with the KWS. So far, a roadmap on the freshwater spatial plan process has been developed, which is the activities are supposed to start from the coming month, that is from February. It is a 1.5 year roadmap or program to collect data on freshwater resources in the country, and to come up with a spatial plan which is going to help us to know which ecosystems needs to be prioritized in our freshwater conservation. Other activities which we have been participating is we participated in the World Water Forum in Bali, and also during the World Water Week in Stockholm. And this was through funding by the WWF. Last year, the State Department, together with the WWF and the Nature Conservancy, we participated in the COP29 in Baku, and we held a side event during the COP29 on Freshwater Challenge, that is the status of Kenya's implementation readiness. So, colleagues, so far, this is what we have been able to do in the past 1 year in the country in terms of setting up and also implementing the Freshwater Challenge. And I think this is all what I have for you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Benjamin Kyalo, for that precise presentation. And I welcome members to note down their questions. We have quite a number of them. We can see they're already coming in. I hope you have been able to understand or have a perspective about the freshwater challenge, and particularly where is Kenya at, what is our commitment, and how can we support the ministry to carry on with this process. Thank you very much, Dr. Benjamin, for that. At this juncture, allow me to welcome Mariam so that she can make her presentation. Thereafter, we can have a question and answer session. Mariam, most welcome.
Thank you, Teresa, for this opportunity. Kindly share the slides for me.
All right, I am sharing your slides. Are you able to see the slides?
Yeah.
Teresa, could you put it in presentation mode? Yeah.
Yes, I am. Need it. Mariam, in the meantime, could you spell the university you wish to?
Yeah, okay. The name, yeah, it's in French, so is Virgin Université in Brussels. So that's how it's written.
Thank you. Welcome and go ahead.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, guys, for giving me this opportunity to come to talk to you about what we are doing in conserving the wetlands along the coastline. My name is Mariam Fadhili, a wetlands officer from Earthlungs Reforestation Foundation. We used to call our organization Earthlungs Reforestation Foundation, but currently it's Earthlungs only because I've been hearing somebody saying Earthlungs Reforestation Foundation. Okay. Please, next, Teresa.
Ukiwa kususpect hakuna mtu ananionanga na mimi sijawahi kuwa na mwanaume hapa. Kwani nafikiria nakwambianga ndio nikufurahisha.
Okay, and the introduction. Earthlungs is an non-governmental organization, also non-profit organization working with local communities adjacent to the gazetted forest maintained by Kenya Forest Services. We use technology and community-driven approaches to rehabilitate degraded ecosystems. We also collaborate with local community government agencies such as Research Institute, Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute, KFRI, and other private sector partners. We are committed to planting 1.5 billion trees in 10 years, and we began our journey in 2023 through strategic partnership. Next. Okay. Currently, we have 15 active restoration sites along the Kenyan coastline. We have 3 sites in Mombasa County. In Majaoni, Majaoni is found along Mtwapa Creek, but it falls on the side of Mombasa County. And then we have Mwakirunge and Mirarani located around Chuda Creek. We also have 4 sites in Kwale County, Sigi, and Bombo, and Mteza. These sites are just adjacent to the new bypass Dongokundu Highway. And then we have Vanga and Majoreni site as you go towards the southern part of the coastline. And then we also have 3 sites in Kilifi County, Kuchi, Mandarini, and Kadzuhoni. And we also have other sites in Tana River County, Chara, Ozi, Kilelengwani, and Tana Salt. So in each site, we have our technical team. We have a site forester who oversees mangrove restoration activities at the field level. We also have an M&D officer who is responsible for tracking the progress, effectiveness, and the impact of mangrove conservation and restoration also efforts. We also have tree production officer who focuses on seedling production and nursery management. This one guides our forest technicians, our tree technicians, the planters, the one who we involve in our activities, guiding them on proper ways of choosing the right propagules to propagate and also how to establish good nurseries. Next. The steps we use on our restoration process. The first one, we use social research. In these steps, we conduct interviews and focus group discussion with the local community. Here we sit with them and try to find out the history, like the background of the areas whereby we want to restore, how they used to be before the degradation was done, and what are the causes of the degradation. Is it natural or human driven? And also ask them, like, is it possible if we restore those areas? Are they going to get back to their original state? So we try to find out, like, the local indigenous knowledge before we start any activity. We also engage with stakeholders such as fishermen and farmers to understand resource use. These are the resource users who are adjacent to the mangrove ecosystem. We also do biophysical research. The first step in this one, we have GIS specialists. They first identify the area that we want to do our restoration activities through desktop mapping. And then the GIS specialist and technical team go to the ground to assess the area to find the plantable areas. Here we also use drones to capture the image of the area, to see the level of the degradation, and also to help us in tracking the progress of the restoration since we start our process. And also the drone image will help us to identify restoration sites based on environmental conditions. We also assess soil and water quality to determine suitability. We use an instrument called refractometer, whereby we measure the water salinity. This water salinity will guide us to assess salinity tolerance levels of different mangrove species, and also guide us to inspect selection, as different mangrove thrives in varying salinity levels. We also identify hydrological conditions and areas needing intervention. In some of the areas, you can't plant direct propagules or seedlings from the nurseries. So one way of our intervention, we try to look at if there's any open water channel whereby it can be open to access it for easy flow of water. So we open the channels, and also in extent we dig trenches to allow water storage for easy growth of the planted seedlings or propagules for water in most dry areas whereby water retention is very low. Next. Please, next. Okay. The key impacts that so far we have contributed to as the organization, we have adapted over 8,000 hectares of both terrestrial and mangrove forest. Sorry, I've not mentioned previously, but we also do restoration on terrestrial forest. So far we have planted over 1 million trees per month. This is our target, monthly target. We have also employed over 600 people in our operation areas, and these have really helped them in improving their living standard. We have also enhanced biodiversity and ecosystem services, and lastly, supported community livelihoods through sustainable use of marine resources. Next, please. Okay. Our future plans as an organization, we have started a project on coastal bamboo belt. We have currently started a pilot project in Majaoni. One of our sites in Mombasa is to planting the bamboos along the belt adjacent to mangrove ecosystem. So the aim of this along the Kenyan coast to protect mangrove from erosion and also to derive them from using the mangroves so that we can conserve them. Our next initiative that we have started is agroforestry. Here we integrate trees and crops to enhance agricultural productivity and sustainability. Our aim is also with this project is to prevent runoff and stabilize soil and enhance biodiversity and provision of different ecosystem products. So with this agroforestry initiative, we are currently establishing nurseries adjacent to the areas that we are carrying out our restoration activities. We are educating farmers on proper ways of carrying sustainable farming. And with this nursery, we are raising seedlings with them. We are going to provide them with seedlings to plant in their farm. This is one of the ways that finding an alternative source of livelihood for them to reduce over dependence on the mangrove forest. We have also come up with apiculture. We are currently installing beehives on our site. One of the aim of doing this is to promote also alternative livelihood for the coastal community and also to enhance pollution and increase biodiversity and support sustainable economic activities for local communities. Next. Thank you. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Mariam, for your presentation and for helping us see how coastal wetlands can be restored through planting of mangroves. Thank you for taking your time to share with us how you do it and also for us to learn a few technical ways to do that, for example, using drone technology. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome members to ask their questions. We will first give an opportunity to highlight the questions that have come from the chat box, and then thereafter, if there's any other questions that have not been answered, then we can allow members to unmute and ask directly. So this is your chance to engage with our speakers and to learn as much as you can from them. Over to you, Anne.
Thanks, Teresa, for this opportunity. I would also like to appreciate our speakers today for the very informative presentations. I think our participants have learned a lot from the government's plan on the forest freshwater challenge to the how practical on the ground the restoration is going on through the Earthlands. So I'll share a few questions that are coming through. Number one, we had a question that I think goes to Dr. Benjamin on why is the academia or the private sector not included in the steering committee. I think there was also a question to Mariam on how many bamboo seedlings can be planted in 1 hectare. And there was also a question on how have you employed the 600 people directly in the organization? Also, there is a question from Muturi. This goes to also Mariam. Have you considered using carbon credits involving mangroves as a source of alternative income? Then Omwenga is asking, do we have a complete mapping of all wetlands in Nyamira County to avoid encroaching? I think that goes to Dr. Benjamin. Then Jabez is asking, could you elaborate on how you use technology to monitor your success rates in your restoration project, and what is your success rate? We have Evans Kiplimo, who is saying, despite existing policies like wetlands regulations and Environmental Management Act, Kenyan wetlands continue to face encroachment. What specific policy enforcement gap exists, and how can Kenya practically balance wetland conservation with the growing demand of agriculture? I think that can be addressed by Dr. Benjamin and also some input from Mariam. I think they can take that for now, and then we can take the next round of questions. If that's okay, Teresa.
Thank you. And Dr. Kyalo, could you please go first?
Okay, thank you, and Anne. Yeah, I see one question is about why not academia and also private sector? Why is it not the steering committee? I just want to say that this is a lean team of experts from key institutions. And when I say that, I am not downgrading research or academic institution, because of course that is where we get all our expertise and most of experts will come from. Yeah, but the idea by the PS of the State Department of Water and Sanitation, when he was forming this committee, he was looking at a lean team which can give expert guidance from key institutions which are involved in terms of policy, in terms of activities on fresh water. And that is why, as I told you, we have just picked up a few of the key institutions to form this steering committee. However, we have a national freshwater stakeholders forum, whereby now the academia, private, and also other key stakeholders will be involved. So the committee will just do most of the work, collect the data, and then they will present these they will be presenting this to a national freshwater stakeholders forum, who will critique and who will give their input. And you know what is done by the committee will not be final. They just give us a working document. So that is why it is not because of it was an oversight or that we lacked people in the academia, but that was the major thinking about it. Okay, now the other question, what was it about? And the other question which was coming to me.
Yes, there was a question on whether there's a wetland mapping that has been done in Nyamira County, and also the policy gaps that exists with regards to water resource management and what can be done.
Okay, yeah. Wetlands specifically in Nyamira, I will not say that it has been done, but through this program. But as I told you that we have developed, we have come up with, with a program of activities for the committee. And starting this February, we will be going to, the members will be starting the collecting data on freshwater ecosystems. That includes wetlands, rivers. They will be classified into the ones which are intact, the ones which are, degraded, and then it will be done through the country, and then it will be presented. First of all, it will be done at county level, then it will be also done at basin levels, and it will also be presented at a national forum. So specifically, I don't expect that we have not done much on the activities. About gaps in wetlands, yes, I can say from where I sit, we have gaps in terms of policy, but this question, I think we will, I don't want to, I don't want maybe to talk on behalf of the Department of Environment, because I know they have a key stake in this. So maybe in another forum, we can discuss more about the gaps in terms of wetlands when we have representatives from the Department of Environment and Forestry. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. I'd like to invite Mariam. I can see Jabez has his hand up. Do you want to go first before we go to Mariam?
Yes, Teresa, I just wanted to chime in the discussion around the mapping of wetlands in Nyamira. I know that NEMA is leading a process where we are trying to come up with a standard way of doing wetlands inventory. And of course, progressively, then we'll move towards working with different stakeholders and county governments to now start mapping all the wetlands within different counties. So there's already a process that has been initiated in terms of coming up with a standard way of how we are going to do wetlands inventory, because that's an area we've not done so well across the country. So that's something that is already in the making, and we are hoping that once it's rolled out, then we are going to have an easy way that any kind of stakeholder can be able to use to help us map wetlands across the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Jabez. I hope that also answers the question from Stephen, who's mentioning that this process was ongoing in Nyambane, but was disbanded by Kenya Water Towers Agency, which is now disbanded, and is asking what will happen to that data set. So I hope that will be taken into consideration when this inventory comes up. Over to you, Mariam.
Hi, Teresa. My name is Victor. I'm the CEO of Earthlungs. I will take the questions on behalf of my colleague, Mariam.
Great. Thank you. You can go ahead.
All right.
Or Anka.
So Jabez is asking how many bamboo seedlings can be planted in 1 hectare. The answer to that is 200 or thereabouts, spacing of anywhere between 4 meters apart or 5 meters apart, depending on the species. You've indicated that you have a monthly target of 1 million trees. So again, Jabez, the 1 million trees is outside of the scope of bamboo. The 1 million trees is what we plant within the mangrove ecosystem. The bamboo project is on something that we call B-trees, which is beyond trees, and I'll talk a bit about that. So again, you're almost right, about 24 million, which is the number of trees. that we have planted since 2022. We've actually planted 35 million trees, majority of them being mangroves, and not just planting and growing them with an average survival percentage of 85%. Again, we go beyond just planting and growing the mangroves. We are also reclaiming severely degraded mangrove areas that have over a period been converted into sandflats because of activities on farmlands. And so that is the reason and the thought behind the bamboo, that the bamboo will go on the shoreline so that it can help with protecting the mangroves against sedimentation and erosion that is happening there. And this bamboo is going to be converted into a commercial aspects of value addition. And so that speaks to our Beyond Trees initiative, which I'll talk about in the other question by Kamuyu on carbon credits. Kevin is asking about if the 600 people are employed by the organization directly. Yes, there is 617 of us who are directly employed by Earthlungs on a monthly pay over a period. So there's a contract, different contractual agreements for 1 year, 5 years, and so on and so forth. But again, there is another 1,200 people who work as temporary staff. So in terms of pot filling, trench digging in severely degraded mangrove areas to allow hydrological intervention, and so on and so forth. So there is about 2,000 of us that are actively working for Earthlungs. Wamuyu, have you considered using carbon credit projects involving mangroves as a source of alternative income? So from a strategic point of view, and in my capacity as the team lead in Earthlungs, we are not great believers of carbon credits, because we ask ourselves, is there anything else that can be done other than looking more towards carbon credits? Any other payment for ecosystem service that can work for the community? Because you cannot go into the community today and explain to a 70-year-old mama or old man what carbon credits is, because even some of us at this level in this meeting today perhaps do not understand the carbon credit lingua and all these benefit sharing schemes and everything that comes with it, and the load of documents that you have to do to justify a carbon credit. But what about if we did what we are doing, which is Beyond Trees? And our Beyond Trees, just so that you can understand, is spelled B, capital B, capital E, and then YOND. So there is a B component to it in terms of apiculture. So the thought process here is that we can actually use the bamboo to cover the shoreline against erosion, but at the same time use that bamboo for value addition, produce high-end products by involving the same communities that are doing reforestation today. Because the biggest risk to the people who are doing ecosystem restoration, or rather the biggest risk to an ecosystem, is the people who are doing restoration. Because the moment their income comes to an end, what else do? They go back into the same ecosystem and destroy it. So there has to be sustainability, permanency, and longevity in terms of household incomes. So that is what we intend to achieve with the bamboo. And then in all these areas that we are doing restoration, we are looking at how many hives can each of these restored ecosystem hold, and what is the holding capacity for each area. And we are looking at what would be the number of hives that we can put in to support the salary and benefits of one person who is employed today. So if it's 10 and we have 100 people that are employed in that area, that means that we need 1,000 hives. So can the ecosystem hold 1,000 hives? Then in the pollinator program, we are looking at how the bees can then help in cross-pollination within the ecosystem and also on farmlands. and we are able to produce the 7 or so products that come out of apiculture. So that is the thought process. The other thought process, so there is bamboo, there is the beehives, and then we are looking at what other high value products or rather crops can we put in our beyond trees strategy. And so today we are experimenting on cacao. So once all that comes into effect, then we can look at sustainable payment for ecosystem services away from the carbon credit until such a time that we feel that from a strategic point of view, we are aligned to go into carbon credits, or the carbon credits can be understood by the local community, or that the local community is the biggest beneficiary out of the carbon credits and not the proponent and not the financier and not the broker. So that is our thought process. So maybe one time we may change our approach towards carbon credits, but as it sits now, it doesn't sit at the top of our pecking order in terms of carbonizing some of these projects. And if you were, again, the process of getting that done is more tedious than just going in and planting trees and looking from other sources of payment for ecosystem service that are straightforward. You don't need to do much to earn from a beehive, or neither do you need to do much to earn from mariculture and the other income generating non-timber forest products. So that I hope that is that answers all the questions that are there. I'm just running through to see whether I have any other one, but I don't think there is. Thank you so much.
Victor, just before you step out, there was a question around how you are using technology to monitor your restoration projects. Do you want to shed light on that? Yes.
Yes, I'll do that. So we have partnered with an organization called Veritree, which has advanced technology. We also have our own technology. So what happens is, in a typical restoration area, be it terrestrial, be it a wetland, be it in the mangrove ecosystem, be it in the agro ecosystems, every polygon is mapped. And in that polygon, we have photo evidence in terms of monitoring. So before, the now, and the future. And then we have time-lapse maps that can actually show you how the area was a year ago and how it's turning green slowly from being brown to turning into green. And then when we completely have a healthy ecosystem. We also have, as we speak today, there is close to 500,000 photo evidence that all these technical teams in the site are able to upload that information into a real-time data collection space that picks different aspects. So there's growth where we use permanent plots to do our every 3 months monitoring, evaluation, and verification, including a system where you can log in, especially if you are funding part of these trees or whichever ecosystem restoration that we are doing. You can actually log in real time to see the number of trees that are being growing, their growth rate, the survivability. On top of that, we deploy bioacoustic sensors and dendrometers that are able to pick, one, the introduction of new life within an ecosystem, and then the dendrometers give us a measure of how the trees are growing, whether there's any stress around them in terms of temperatures, dry weather, and so on and so forth. So that is what we do under our monitoring, evaluation, and verification. And this is part of the technology that we constantly share with the team in Jazamiti and at the ministry to just ensure that all restoration activities going on in this country are measurable, they are ethical, they are transparent, and we can account for every tree that has been grown or for every ecosystem that has been that has been restored. And also just so that we are able to measure the economic value of restoration, because sitting where we sit today, all of us in this sector realize that there is very little incentive that is coming in from the national treasury, especially in terms of getting exemption on taxes. You have all these people employed in the green industry or the blue industry, but you keep on paying taxes here and there. It is the government's responsibility to employ its people, but we are taking that responsibility. So how do we amplify our voices in such a way that we show how much of foreign support we are getting in that cushions the Kenya shilling, and at the same time, how many people out there would actually be would not be employed, but out of our intervention, we have employed these people, and so this monitoring, evaluation, and verification just goes it goes beyond the science approach to also addressing issues of how is it that government can cushion those of us in this space from certain aspects, because we are doing a social good activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor, for those elaborate responses. I can still see some questions for you on the chat box, and one of them is whether you have a framework of agreement with KFS in mangrove restoration, and the other one is whether or not you're considering doing something about pollution. In this case, I can see I assume it's plastic pollution in the oceans. Is that something you're also considering to do? And as you think about those questions, I'd want to also throw a question to Dr. Benjamin. I can see that Sima is asking what is being done to preserve seasonal wetlands, especially in arid and semi-arid areas that face shortage in terms of rains throughout the year. Could you, Dr. Ri, mention something about seasonal wetlands in Asal? Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to start about a question up there, which was asking about brackish ecosystems, whether they are part of our targets, and I want to say that is true. They are part of our target. In my presentation, I started by saying in the definition of freshwater challenge, I say that this includes brackish ecosystems like mangroves, like what Victor and Mariam are doing down in the coast there. I say this because any conservation or protection which is done not only in that system, not only in the mangroves, but also upstream, upstream like the rivers which are feeding the coastal systems, any conservation measure done there will have a positive impact on that coastal system. So this will be part of our our data collection in the spatial plan, so that we can identify the ecosystems which have been affected, whereby we have interventions being done, and those which are lacking, so that we can come up with a prioritization plan on the measures which needs to be implemented. So, Kevin, I think you are the one who asked about that. Yeah. And then the other one is on seasonal wetlands. I think seasonal wetlands is a bit on my part. Maybe what I can say, seasonal wetlands mainly can be conserved by when we adhere to the rules of the riparian rules, and also conservation of the water sources and also the wetlands, because you agree with me, practically when a seasonal river is conserved in terms of like, the riparian zone, and when we control things like, sand harvesting, the major activities which affect seasonal systems, they are human activities. So when we implement the policies about riparian, about protection of the water sources and any other degrading activities within the catchment, then also the seasonal wetlands will be well conserved, and this will also have impact on the groundwater system within that area, because we know in these seasonal systems or in arid areas, we find that the communities depend on groundwater, and such a seasonal wetland will be key to be conserved because it will have positive impact on provision of water to the surrounding community. Yeah, I might not be quite, comprehensive in my answer in terms of seasonal wetlands, but I welcome anybody else who might have input on the theme. Do I have any other question to handle? For Ian Baraka, I think I've taken your number. I can take whatever maybe photos might be of interest to you, and I can forward them to you. I've taken note of your phone number. I think that is all what I have.
Okay, just before you leave, Daktari, I would like to ask the existing frameworks that are related to the conservation of these inland freshwater ecosystems. How will you ensure that the conservation special plan that you intend to develop is in harmony with these frameworks and is not in conflict? Thanks.
Okay, what I can say about the freshwater special plan, it will sort of bring together, integrate all the other frameworks. These are coordinated globally, and as a country, we need to be reporting on the measures which are being taken, and also the freshwater ecosystems which are being conserved. So the freshwater challenge will involve all the stakeholders and also conventions, and through these forums which are being done in the country, we will be reporting through this freshwater challenge. We will be coordinating those activities so that we can be able to report as a country what is happening in terms of protection and conservation of freshwater ecosystems. Yeah.
Daktari, before you go, just allow me to give some sort of clarity to my earlier question with brackish ecosystems. My understanding is that there is a similar process on the marine side, which is the marine special planning process that's sort of ongoing. And you mentioned about the freshwater special planning. So if we are considering brackish ecosystems in both ends of the special plans, then my question was, in terms of reporting in the national strategies, for example, the biodiversity strategy or other national strategies that you said you're pushing for the recognition of these ecosystems into, then are we not driving towards a scenario of double counting or double reporting, or how can these two processes then complement each other if brackish ecosystems are counted under freshwater special plans and at the same time counted in the marine special plans? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Kevin. Yeah, thank you for that clarity. Yeah, I might not be so much aware about the marine special plan, and thank you for highlighting that one here. I think what we need to do is just work hand in hand, because whether it is reported under marine or in freshwater, it is the same country. So we'll just agree, and maybe whereby, and it will be very important that we will be inviting, the people from the marine spatial plan process, so that we can make sure that there is no double reporting. So whatever is, if a certain ecosystem lies under or is covered under marine, then it doesn't need to appear in the freshwater. I was just saying that in some cases, out of the definition of freshwater ecosystems, we can consider also some of the brackish ecosystems, but there will be no problem when it is reported under marine. So what we'll do, we just need to agree. Maybe the people under marine, they report what they have been able to accommodate, and also what is being done under freshwater. And you find that we will not go into double reporting. Thank you for that highlight.
Thank you, Dr. I can see one more question on just on the same aspect. Joel Otieno has a question on Yala Swamp. Joel, can you kindly unmute and ask the question directly? Joel, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yes, please ask your question. Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, my concern is regarding Yala Swamp, because it's one of the largest water wetlands with about 51,300 acres. And as you know, it's one of the key diversity that filters water from River Nzoia and Yala. At the same time, we have the satellite lakes of Kanyapoli. And as we speak, there's been issues, and now since I've just heard of the special plan, is there consideration on how this vast water reserve is being taken is being considered? Because as we speak now, part of it had been invested by Dominion, and currently there's a project there by the Monimia Sugar. And we are also experiencing the livelihood of people around that area is also suffering. If we also don't forget, we used to have the Statunga antelope and also a lot of birds. So is there anything that, according to the special plan, Siaya, the Yala Swamp can be considered or being integrated in the special plan that can also can also influence the support of the county government as well as national government?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Joel, for your question and concern about Yala Swamp. I think all of us knows about the importance of the Yala Swamp. It's not only not only to the Kanyaboli but also it is a key, wetland which also affects the Lake Victoria. Yeah, because it's not far from the Lake Victoria. So what I can say from the spatial plan process, because there are so many stakeholders who are involved in conservation of Yala Swamp, in the spatial plan, we will prioritize, the wetlands and their status. We are going to prioritize and also come up, with a guideline on what needs to be done, because we know there are some whereby conservation interventions are already in progress. So we will identify the gaps and then come up with a prioritization of the same. And then, of course, we'll be involving the county governments and all other stakeholders, players in conservation. We will also try to mobilize, funding from, funding from, donors out of the priority areas and see how the different actors can be involved and also can be funded in these activities. So I cannot talk about Yala Swamp alone, but of course, it is a high priority. So, the important thing is, first of all, to come up with a plan and priority, and we guide the implementation activities through also mobilizing for funding and all that. So, obviously, some of these key wetlands in the country are on the target in terms of conservation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daktari, for your responses to the questions raised. And at this point, we want to close the question and answer session. And unless Victor has a response he wants to give. In this slide, we welcome experts. If you are here and you're an expert on seasonal wetlands, pick this as a topical issue. And we've also highlighted those questions that may not be have been answered here, and we'll follow them up in subsequent discussions. So I want to give a hearty thank you to our speakers for taking in the questions and responding to them. At this juncture, I would like to invite our members to share any updates they have on the World Wetlands Day. If you're here and you have plans for the World Wetlands Day and you'd like to invite our forum members to participate in your activities, this is your space to share with us the plans that you have so that we all join in the global movement to conserve our wetlands for our common future. So please feel free to unmute and just share with us your plans. Perhaps you could start with Ondiri Swamp if they're here. Then any other member who has an update can just raise a hand and they'll be given a chance to share.
Teresa, I just wanted to suggest, and sorry to interject, I wanted to suggest, if possible, Kevin could just give an highlight of the marine project that we've just started, because it aligns so well with the presentations that we've had here. And then now we can allow members to just give updates, if that's okay with you.
Yes. Kevin, please go ahead as members prepare their updates. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jabez and Teresa. And thanks for the speakers that came before me for the wonderful presentations. My name is Kevin Lunzalu. I am the Marine Officer at the East African Wildlife Society. And this day resonates very well, as you have seen from the presentation, not just to inland or terrestrial wetlands, but also to coastal wetlands. And one of the projects that we are working on currently at the East African Wildlife Society is a project that is funded by the Pew Charitable Trust, and we are implementing it in partnership with the Fauna and Flora organization. Some of you know it as Fauna and Flora International, which focuses on influencing policy, but also enhancing actions towards conservation of coastal wetlands or coastal blue carbon ecosystems. And when you're talking about blue carbon ecosystems, this project is specifically focusing on mangroves and seagrass. And as some of you might be aware, these blue carbon ecosystems are very significant in terms of, not just carbon absorption, but also supporting the livelihoods of the coastal people who depend directly on these ecosystems for their day-to-day livelihoods. So one of the things that we are focusing on in this project is the formulation of a blue carbon working group. And we invite you, all of you, to join us. We will be sharing more information to our members in the coming days. But we just wanted to let everyone know that this is a work in progress, work that we have started. And on 1st March 2025, we will be participating, hopefully, in the World Seagrass Day. So just mark in your diaries, and we'll be reaching out with more information. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Kevin, for
sorry, Teresa, just to add that if any of the people who are currently attending this webinar are interested in being part of the conversation, especially around what you're doing currently is just mapping the stakeholders that are working directly on blue carbon ecosystems or whose work is relevant to this. So if you are one of those institutions or organizations or local community groups, you can reach out to me. I'm going to put my email in the chat so that we can include you in the master stakeholder list that we are currently working on, and then you could be part of our communications going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. And members, feel free to reach out to us, to the forum, Kenya Wetlands Forum at eawildlife.org, and we will link you up with Kevin in the Pew project. So, this is your space to shine. Please just unmute and share with us what plans you have for the World Wetlands Day, which is held every 2nd of February.
Yeah, and Teresa, I think as they're preparing to do that presentation, we are not limiting it to just what they are planning for the World Wilderness Day. It could also just be sharing updates on various wetlands that you are probably working on, or you're aware of certain threats, so that we can pick it or pick those as advocacy areas to focus on as a forum. Seems like we are not having any updates today.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Kezia, and for me, I had a question, and maybe somebody might have an idea. I come from an area around Ruai Kamulu area, and I've noticed there are several wetlands there, especially when it rains. You can really tell this is a wetland, and I've seen a lot of encroachment on those areas. And especially there's one which even looks like a river but has been choked. People have built stones to stop it moving forward and so on. So I was wondering if there's a map that could show that this was a wetland, and there are areas that still can be reclaimed. I was just wondering if there's a report or a map or something showing wetlands around the Ruai Kamulu Joska area. Thank you. I've seen even quarries that have been abandoned, and somehow they have turned out to be like a wetland area. There are creatures living on them, and I was just wondering, can we also use those ones, or what can we do? Because if it goes on like this, it's like free for all, and I was just wondering. Thank you.
Thank you, Kezia, for raising that. And it is becoming an issue. Urban wetlands are coming up as a hot area, and members are interested in knowing what can be done about this. And this is an area Kenya Wetlands Forum will want to explore further in terms of reclaiming abandoned quarries. And the first place I will refer to is Kenya Forestry Research Institute, which has an elaborate kind of model for reclaiming wetlands and quarries, and they could be a great starting point. The other aspect is a map, and I do think when this inventory happens, then this will be some of the key considerations to be made in the process of coming up with the wetlands inventory. The last inventory, I think, was done in 2012, and since then, since late last year, I think there have been efforts towards coming up with a new inventory, as mentioned by Jabez, and also as mentioned by Dr. Kyalo, looking at which wetlands and areas, special plans for freshwater areas under the freshwater challenge. So this is something we also want to look into further beyond just this webinar, so that we can educate, create awareness amongst our members, but also advocate for the rehabilitation of these quarries and the reclamation of our riparian areas. Any member can also speak to what has been raised by Kezia, if at all you also have experience in the same area or some insights you'd want to share on the same.
Yeah, Kezia, you mentioned about mapping of the areas, and you were wondering if any maps exist. My understanding is part of the mandate of the Nairobi Rivers Commission was to map all the riparian areas, and not just in Nairobi, but also the surrounding counties of Machakos, Kiambu, and Kajiado, and I think Makueni as well. I don't know if these reports are public, but I understand that the Nairobi Rivers Commission was tasked with this mandate to produce the mapping to inform interventions around conservation of these areas. So it could be one of the institutions you want to look to.
Yeah, and Teresa, just to add on what you and Kevin have mentioned, the mapping that was done way back in 2012 focused more on the large wetlands and did not take into account some of these small wetlands. And that's why, as stakeholders, we are moving towards having a standard way of doing mapping of wetlands or inventory of wetlands, where even community members are able to map wetlands where they are. So we believe if that process kicks off, then we'll be able to have comprehensive map of wetlands across the country. So it's an ongoing process, and once the tools that are being developed have been tested and they're working, then we're hoping that we can roll them out to our members to support the government in mapping wetlands in wherever you are. But we really appreciate you sharing that information.
Great. If there's no other member with an update, then I would like to refer you as well to Stephen Ndungu. He's from KFRI, and he shared his email on the chat box. And if he has more information on the same, please, Stephen, feel free to share with us.
So, Teresa, in the interest of time, do you have any comment, any updates from your desk to the members, so that we can move towards the closure of the meeting?
All right. Thanks, Jabez. So from the Secretariat, last year we had a slow year, and this year we are looking towards revamping the Kenya Wetlands Forum, making it a more vibrant forum for members to be able to engage, share knowledge, and also raise advocacy issues that require attention from the Secretariat, but also that require collective action from all the members. From last year, we did hold some meetings with the management committee of the Kenya Wetlands Forum, and one of the key focus areas was to develop a strategic plan for Kenya Wetlands Forum, looking into the future, what we want to do as a forum, and also what advocacy issues are of priority. So coming this year, we want to prioritize working on the strategic plan for the forum so that we're able to fundraise and highlight advocacy issues on matters wetlands. As we can see today, our wetlands are dwindling at a fast rate, and therefore more action is needed at local level and at national level for us to safeguard our wetlands. The other aspect is we'll be doing a membership drive so that we can recruit as many members to become part of the forum. And we welcome you to share your membership request if you're here and you have not interacted with Kenya Wetlands Forum before. You can just send an email to kwf@eaylife.org and we'll share with you the membership registration form. The same email address you can also use to raise advocacy issues in your location that will be of interest to members, and also that we can discuss in our upcoming monthly meetings. Kenya Wetlands Forum monthly meetings are always scheduled on the last Thursday of the month, as it is today, and we're hoping that this year we'll have subsequent and engagements, and we welcome members to share also topics that they need more capacity in, and also topics that will require advocacy and policy direction as well. So please feel free to reach out to us, and I can see you also requesting for the PowerPoint presentation slides. Just write to us at kwf@eaylife.org and we'll be able to share with you the slides and presentations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Teresa. I think we can now move to the closure of the meeting. I just want to start by thanking our speakers today for the insightful presentations that they have made on matters freshwater challenge, which I know most of us were not aware of. And it's really important that we take note of this so that then we start participating in the process. I think that's really important. And then we also see now we can be able to use technology to drive our restoration initiatives within our wetlands across the country. And we normally look at Kenya Wetlands Forum as a platform where we can be sharing these lessons, learning from each other, so that we can also improve the different projects that we do at individual levels and also at institutional level. Allow me also to thank the participants for being active in this particular webinar and even staying throughout this particular webinar. We really appreciate that. And also the team that has been behind coordinating the preparation towards this particular webinar and even running us through the program for today. Many thanks for the effort. For those who may not know, the World Wetlands Day for this year will be celebrated at Ondiri Swamp. Ondiri Swamp is in Kikuyu County, next to Kikuyu Town. So should you be interested in participating, I know there are some build-up activities that were starting today, tomorrow, and even Saturday, because the actual day will be on Sunday, the 2nd of February. We will share the presentation, the two presentations that have been made here with the participants, and if possible, also the recording, so that those who may have registered but were not able to attend can refer to the presentation. The other thing that I would like to mention is that if you have any further questions regarding the topic that we discussed here, feel free to write to the Secretariat and we'll be able to forward them to the speakers and revert back to you with answers to your questions. Lastly, I just want to encourage members of the forum to be active in the forum activities, sharing information on what's happening in different wetlands and what you're doing in those wetlands so that we can actually start maintaining a catalog of different wetlands in the country and the partners that are working on those particular wetlands. That will make it easier for the Kenya Wetlands Forum Secretariat to even link you with the potential partners and even donors. So I think that's very useful information that we really appreciate if you can share with us. So I think without further ado, we have come to the close of this meeting today. I'm not sure if we were able to get any representative from the management committee of the Kenya Wetlands Forum to give any closing remarks. Teresa, do we have anybody in the management committee who was able to join in?
I had seen Dr. Jane Masharia, but I think at some point she dropped out. And there was also Celine. Yeah.
They're still there or they've dropped?
I've not seen them. I think they've dropped.
Okay, that's fine. And just also to remind you that we have a WhatsApp group for the Kenya Wetlands Forum. If you like us to add you, please share your contact with Teresa, and then you'll be added on the group. And when you join the group, please be sharing the information around wetlands so that all of us are aware of what is happening. So thank you very much. And I want to hand over to Vincent for closing prayers.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, yes, Dr. You're there. Hi, you can say hi to the team here.
I am there all the way to the end. I would want to take this opportunity to thank everyone. It is delighting to see the number, the turn-up, 70 was quite good. And most importantly, the insight we've got. And it is good to see more and more, I don't want to say newcomers, but new people in quote, coming in to join in this passion we have for conservation of wetlands through education and awareness. It is good, and I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone. And I want to call upon all in this era of social media, we use the space to have more and more advocacy on conservation and management. And it was delighting to hear someone talking of the emerging urban wetlands from quarries. I think that is something that we can take up to increase the number of wetlands, and not just to increase, but it has to be a well thought out idea and platform, because I know most of those quarries turn up into urban wetlands or wetlands, and they are hosting biodiversity. So I think that is a new angle that we can look into. I also take note of now the new approach, the approach that we are going to have in the wetlands inventory, that we are not going to focus on the wetlands that are already choking under many conservation platforms, UNESCO site, Ramsar site, all this, but it would be good to look into the smaller wetlands. Once again, thank you so much, East African Wildlife Society, for coordinating, Teresa, Jebes, and everyone of us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. for attending this particular session. We are privileged to have had you throughout. So Vincent, you can pick from there.
Thank you. I just want to do a vote of thanks to everyone that has facilitated and has made through to the end. First of all, I want to thank all the speakers who have who made their presentations. I want to thank Dr. Benjamin Kyalo, Ms. Mariam, Fadhili. I also want to thank all those who have contributed towards the fruitful discussion that we've had. I want to thank all the organizers, the East African Wildlife Society, organizers, Earthlungs, Restoration Foundation, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation under the State Department of Water, Kenya Wetland Forum. Want to appreciate all your efforts in organizing this webinar. Secondly, I want to thank all of you for creating this time to join us through this webinar. We'll be organizing such webinars and we'll having a series of such, and looking forward to interacting with you in upcoming webinars and upcoming meetings. Otherwise, have a great day and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.